Come in close, because the more you think you see, the easier it'll be to fool you.
What we love about this movie is that you've never seen a heist movie filtered through magic. The idea that the whole heist itself is a magic trick. So you're watching it wondering how they pulled it off. And just when you think you understand what it is, you're surprised by something else. So the fun of that game with the audience, I think, distinguishes this movie from other heist movies.
I grew up watching heist films, and when I thought of the movie Now You See Me, I thought, what could I do differently? And I thought, what if this wasn't about the money? That when they do get the money, they give it away to the audience, and that's a twist that I've never seen.
The deeper we went into the process of developing the script, and the more real illusionists and magicians we talked to, and started to hear about the basic principles of magic. Things like misdirection, and the trick has already been done before the audience even realizes it's done, and fuse those principles into the writing of the screenplay.
The story itself is sort of a magic trick and a surprise and a twist.
It's so rare that you actually open a script and you have to keep turning the page and you don't know what's going to happen next, and when you think you know what's going to happen next, the opposite happens. And when something like that comes along, it's kind of your responsibility to bring it to the world. So we really felt it when we read it.
And to be able to get behind someone else's script and nurture it, and to be able to sell their idea to a studio and have that come out is so gratifying, and it's so great.
It's really awe-inspiring to see what they did to the script that I wrote 3 years ago, and then showing up and seeing hundreds of people and all the thousands of components that are dedicated to making this work. It's incredible.
Because it's completely new material.
It's a big high-concept movie that has great action sequences.
And this is a nice mix of something you are familiar with, a heist movie, but then done in a totally original way through illusionists who are a team and who aren't in it just for the money, they're in it for something bigger.
They call themselves the Four Horsemen. One of their missions is actually to steal from the rich and give back to the poor.
What's interesting about the Four Horsemen in the movie is that at the beginning of the movie, you know, you feel as though they are these criminals.
FBI! Hands where I can see them.
Technically, we're stealing money. We're not necessarily good guys, but at the same time, we're doing it to get back at these people who we feel don't deserve that money in the first place.
And ultimately, they do transform into these incredible Robin Hoods.
The Horsemen are not interested in becoming rich. They're interested in pulling off these illusions almost to prove to themselves that they can do it. And the heists that they end up pulling off are not to benefit themselves. They're to benefit the people who have lost money because of unfair circumstances.
They want to do something good for people, and they're having fun to do it because it's a big show.
And so you do have this modern Robin Hood tale of these magicians that are basically stealing from the rich and giving back to the poor.
Is it possible that Josepha's balance went up the exact amount that Art's went down?
Henley, in some ways, is the smartest of all the horsemen. She's an escapologist. In real life, I'm a real fraidy cat. I'm afraid of everything. And so I felt like this character was just so fearless and someone so different from me that I wanted to take part to kind of conquer my fears. Atlas and Jack do more sleight of hand. Merritt is more of a mentalist.
A lot of people who are mentalists were magicians and then segued into mentalism.
Atlas is a guy who needs to constantly be in control, which is one of the reasons he's able to do these incredible illusions.
I play Jack Wilder. He's kind of a sleight of hand guy who has kind of idolized these other three horsemen his whole life. So Arthur Tressler, played by Michael Caine, he's the money man behind the Four Horsemen.
The horseman's benefactor is a guy who kind of has earned his money through less than ethical means.
If you think of Bernie Madoff or something like that, he's a real crook and moves everybody around like pawns in the chess game.
We end up letting people know what a fraud he is and manage to take his money and give it to the people in the audience.
Oh, I got $82,000 on my bank account. Hey, is this for real?
Mark Ruffalo and Melanie Laurent, the FBI agents who are tracking the four of us.
What game you playing? What game you playing? We're all good at 6, move to 7.
Copy that. Going to 7. Atlas loves the FBI because he feels like he's so far ahead of them.
Freeze!
And in a lot of ways he is.
Get all over me, because the closer you think you are, the less you'll actually see.
I'm gonna nail you.
First rule of magic, always be the smartest guy in the room.
Dylan catches this case and he's very reticent to take it on. He likes to do things on his own. Then this beautiful French Interpol agent shows up and he has to share this case with her.
Alma appears and he hates her in a minute and she hates him. And I think when two people hate each other so much, it's because there is love.
I don't want to know about magic. I don't want to know how any of this works. I just want to know, are these guys doing it?
When a magician waves his hand and says, this is where the magic is happening, the real trick is happening somewhere else.
I want to know how they robbed a bank.
You're an idiot if you think they robbed the bank.
Thaddeus Bradley, played by Morgan Freeman, is a magic debunker trying to ruin the Four Horsemen.
He's one of the best magicians ever. He's here to help us to understand every details of the robbery.
I think this makes Thaddeus feel very important that the FBI is stymied.
I personally prefer to take the stairs to Paris.
Throughout the movie, there's suspicion that there is a fifth horseman.
And the heist that we pull off has been kind of orchestrated by someone else who we've never met.
The firewall's down. Do they know about this?
They who?
They, them, whoever we're working for.
It's such a massive undertaking, these heists and the amount of planning that had to go into them. It starts to become clear that these guys aren't working on their own.
You don't know who it is, and where they do kind of mislead you.
The fifth horseman is over there.
There's a few people who are suspects. Thaddeus is one.
Look who it is. The fifth horseman.
Are you kidding? I'm following them just like you are.
And I think Alma is one. She believes in magic. She's interested in how it's performed. She's doing research on it, which comes really close to unraveling his whole Uber plan.
And what I love in that script, it's not obvious. We don't know, it's more mysterious.
The great thing about all mysteries is you think you know. You go, I know where this is going. And we're bang. No, it isn't.
Part of the fun of the movie is that it's a guessing game that keeps you wondering what's happening. Just when you think you understand it, some flip happens and you actually realize how wrong you were.
And you're not sure who the good guy is, who the bad guy is, who you want to win, who you want to lose, and you don't really know that till the end.
Who doesn't love a good magic trick?
I was very open to being taught magic and being invited into the secret world. And David Kwong, who is our on-set magician, he explained to me just how important performance is when you're a magician.
These are the magicians of tomorrow. So it's been a difficult challenge to come up with routines that we can't even do today, but we'd like to be able to do tomorrow. And so we took things like flying around the stage, inspired by David Copperfield, and putting Henley inside bubbles.
A lot of the sleight of hand stuff, a lot of the magic tricks are actually designed magic tricks that are happening in front of you.
So, if you had nothing to do with it, then how did the playing card get into the bowl?
Oh yes, that would be, yeah, what do the kids call it these days? Oh yes, that's right, magic.
Is that your card? DVD going audience?
And we have a fair amount of coin manipulation and card manipulation in the film. And it might look a little something like this. I could reach out and I could produce a queen. That's the queen of clubs. I could reach out again and I could produce the queen of hearts.
Dave Kwong wants to make the magic in this movie look as real as possible, and he wants us to do as much ourselves as possible rather than putting in effects. I don't want any trouble, all right? It's just, what?
Come here.
All right, wait, hey, hold on.
Really?
Yep.
Ow!
Rehearsal for this movie, it's been really fun just because the first day of rehearsal, I was throwing playing cards for about 3 hours trying to cut a banana in half. I don't get paid to do this.
I've been working on the hypnotism and I still haven't managed to hypnotize anybody. I thought I came close one time where I hesitated when I shouldn't have. Otherwise, I would have been able to do it.
Wait, what do you think this is all about?
Hang on. I got nothing.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the delay.
Pick up, fists, vanish, produce.
David Kwong is teaching me how to mime picking up the metal ball, sending it through this contraption, and producing it on the other side. When I first started practicing magic and reading about it for this movie, I thought, it kind of felt dishonest, but now I'm realizing it's precisely that dishonesty that makes people really happy.
I think that people are enthralled by magic because the world is a very bewildering place.
People want to turn themselves over to the delight of magic. I never see people turn into 6-year-olds quicker than when they get in front of a magician.
We got a mixed up Rubik's Cube here, and we're gonna do a little.
Even if I've seen the tricks a lot of times, I never get bored with the reaction, you know, that sense of wonder that people get.
And I will wave this magic wand for no reason, and then Fluffy has magically vanished before your very eyes.
They don't show you the trick itself. They show you the trick, but not how it's done.
Me and my partners, Alex Kurtzman and Bob Orsi, talked about the shows, and we wanted each one of them to feel different. So what we decided to do was to find different cities, and that each show takes on the attitude of that city. So we start in Las Vegas, and it's all about bigger is better. And then we move the movie to New Orleans, and that has a different kind of vibe because it does have a tradition of magic.
New Orleans has been the perfect place to shoot Now You See Me because it is itself a city that is full of magic.
This town has such a rich culture that perfectly dovetails with what the movie's themes are about performance and magic.
To go and walk down Bourbon Street and go to Cafe du Monde, it was such a romantic, fun experience for me going to New Orleans.
When we were filming on Bourbon Street, first real day of Mardi Gras, you have Mark Ruffalo chasing me, I'm in a cop outfit, through all this crowd. He jumps up on a cop car and getting pelted with beads. Half from people who aren't even hired on the movie, just throwing beads at Mark Ruffalo. And it was insane, it was madness. But that was like the moment where I was like, all right, this is like a big time movie.
Part of the fun of this movie is it's sort of a travelogue, and they're kind of a global Robin Hoods, and part of the fun of a heist movie is to actually go somewhere and actually travel with these characters, and that's what we do.
There are more ingredients in the film than just the script. They're an incredible cast. Every one of them I wanted to work with.
This is a magic trick, Mr. Tesla. You, sir, are the distraction.
I was a $140 million distraction.
To share any screen time with Sir Michael Caine was a little bit like winning the lottery for an actor. And I felt the same about Morgan Freeman, you know, hearing Morgan Freeman's voice on set. Everybody knows that deep, soulful, calming, godlike voice.
It's so funny, when he arrived on set, we were like, oh, it's Morgan Freeman who talks and who do this and this. And we were like big fans in life. It's Morgan Freeman, baby!
To be able to work with Morgan Freeman and Michael Caine are two legends. And I was also just really psyched about the cast as a whole.
Being able to work with all these incredible actors that I've admired, and just to kind of see their process and kind of pick their brains a little bit, it's been incredible.
You have this incredible ensemble of people who are all so different and all so uniquely talented in their own way. And you can see how much fun they're having on screen. Each one of them is having a great time.
At a certain point, it boils down to chemistry. And for whatever reason, Jesse, Dave, Woody, and I get along great. And we had a blast making this movie.
I really spend the balance of my time with Melanie Laurent, who's just an amazing talent and person. We have a great time together.
La plus quoi?
Bleu actrice, grande actrice.
Is it an action movie?
It is now.
And I feel like I'm lucky every day to work with Mark because it makes everything so easy and fun.
Blue helmet! You ready?
And I never had so much fun. I'm just laughing so hard every day.
We had a blast. There was one morning where there's this 50-foot trash chute that they want us to dive down, and it's so fun. You're doing an action movie, flipping over tables and jumping down trash chutes, so it's been a blast.
It's a big, big movie with a lot of complicated and really fun sequences, and from tip to toe, it's just an enormous amount of fun.
When I read it, I thought, I'd like to do this picture because I want to go and see it.
It's everything that I love in a movie on such a grand scale.
You know, as an audience, you're allegiance is shifting throughout the movie.
It's like this all-star cast. I get to play a little bit with everybody.
You've got car chases, hand-to-hand fighting using magic.
Everything is big. It's amazing.
Whatever this grand trick is really going to amaze. Look closely, because the closer you think you are, the less you'll actually see.
What is magic? Magic is deception, but deception designed to delight, to entertain, to inspire. It is about belief,
faith,
trust.
Without those qualities, magic as an art form would no longer exist.
And what would the world be without magic? I'm David Kwong, the magician behind Now You See Me. With this film, we endeavored to create for audiences the feeling of watching any great magic trick, whether it be a large stage illusion or a sleight of hand trick on the street. We instilled into the film mystery, misdirection, and lots of entertainment. Magic will always be about deception, but at its core, magic is an art form that has been passed down over the ages. From Keller to Houdini, each generation brings something new to magic and expands the power of myth and illusion. In Now You See Me, each of the four horsemen possess unique talents. They are masters of stage illusion, street magic, mentalism, and escapology. Each a colorful part of the tapestry of illusion. The four horsemen combine their talents to create an elaborate heist with clues hidden at every turn. Now we'll show you just how these disciplines came to be, and we'll conjure up stories of the incredible exploits of bold individuals who believed in themselves enough to make the world believe in the power of magic.
Whatever this grand trick is, it was designed. And I believe that what's about to follow is really going to amaze.
Long before magic was brought into your living rooms, the secret language of illusion was passed down through a lineage of conjurers and innovators. The use of deception for entertainment dates back thousands of years. Though we can't be certain, some scholars claim that the ancient Egyptians were performing the cups and balls around 2500 BC. There's also a written account by Roman philosopher Seneca the Younger describing the cups and balls around 45 AD. One early book, often considered to be the first treatise on the mechanics of illusion, appeared in 1584 in Great Britain. The Discovery of Witchcraft by Reginald Scott explains conjurers' tricks as performances rather than supernatural manifestations. But soon after its publication, by order of King James I, every copy of the book that could be found was burned. In the film, we pay homage to many of the greats, but the stage theatrics of the Four Horsemen would not be possible without a clockmaker in Paris who ushered in the modern era of stage magic. A Frenchman by the name of Jean-Eugène Robert Houdin would come to be known as the father of modern magic. In 1840, he opened the Théâtre Robert Houdin in Paris, the first of its kind. His elaborate shows included mechanical automata, electromagnetism, hidden assistants, and elaborately engineered stage tricks that are still performed today. Moreover, Robert Houdin transformed magic from street juggling into an elegant theatrical event. By the late 1800s, stage magic had captured the imagination of audiences all over the world, Alexander Herman, the legendary Egyptian hall performer, would be responsible for creating the image often associated with magicians. The top hat, goatee, and tailcoats would be Herman the Great's signature look, the devil in evening clothes. In the early 1900s, stage magic would flourish with the touring show of the mystical Chung Ling Soo. Chung Ling Soo's signature feat was catching a bullet in his teeth. On March 23, 1918, during a performance at the Wood Green Empire Theatre outside of London, the gun malfunctioned and Chung Ling Soo was shot in his right lung and would later die from his injuries. But the greatest deception of all was that Chung Ling Soo was not Chinese in the least, but actually an American by the name of William Robinson. All of these impressive acts served as inspiration for our characters and their spectacle-driven performances. But alongside the theatrics exists another form of magic, one far more intimate, one that toys with the human psyche.
It says here you are a mentalist. Well, what exactly is mentalism?
Tricks mostly, some science, targeted guessing might be a most apt description, along with some intuition and the occasional voices in my head. Just having fun.
In the movie, Woody Harrelson plays Merritt McKinney, a mentalist who, like many before him, has seen his career rise and fall. Always straddling the line between fraud and mysticism, mentalists have been criticized for taking advantage of their spectators' vulnerabilities. But mentalism is one of the most ancient magic practices. Soothsayers employed techniques to deceive believers by exhibiting wondrous acts of memorization, mind control, and telepathy. One of the most celebrated mentalists at the turn of the century was Alexander, the man who knows. Alexander claimed to be a mind reader and a psychic, and earned a fortune as one of the most successful magic acts of the day. Dressed in exotic robes, sporting a jeweled turban, and peering into his gazing globe, Alexander claimed to possess powers of telepathy and clairvoyance. Handcuffs, straitjackets, cages, coffins, steel boxes, barrels, bags, burning buildings, and water tanks. Some of the tools of the venerated class of magicians known as escape artists. This art form would be perfected by the man whose name would become synonymous with magic, Harry Houdini. But before Houdini's time, performers like the Davenport brothers combined escapology with spiritualism. The Davenports would climb inside a spirit cabinet. They would bind themselves with rope, and once inside, they would channel the supernatural world. Strange and eerie noises would emanate from the cabinet, but when the chamber was flung open, the performer would still appear to be tied up. The Davenports traveled across the Americas and Europe, along with a man who called himself the Dean of American Magicians, Harry Keller. Years later, a markedly different kind of escapology would become popular. One man would rise above the rest, Eric Weiss, known to the world as Harry Houdini. Houdini added an I to the name Houdin to emulate the aforementioned great French innovator. Houdini, a brilliant marketer and public performer, ensured that his audiences knew that his escapes had nothing to do with the supernatural, but rather showcased his strength and ingenuity. In the 1920s, Houdini would turn much of his attention to exposing psychics, spiritualists, and mediums who claimed they possessed otherworldly powers. Houdini's 1924 expose of mediums, A Magician Among the Spirits, would ultimately antagonize his close friend, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, who was a firm believer in spiritualism.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am the next
great magician, and I will give $100 to anyone who can tell me how this trick is done. I have an ordinary spoon from Mel's Deli right here in Brooklyn. Check it out. Now everyone, please pay very, very close attention, because I'm about to bend this spoon with my mind.
Street magic has become a starting point for many modern-day aspiring magicians. Like young Jack Wilder, many of the greats made a name for themselves on the streets with their raw talent and showmanship. Contemporary street magic has come into the mainstream as the exploits of these street tricksters have garnered huge cult followings through social media and online videos. But the roots of street magic can be traced back thousands of years. Perhaps the most legendary of all street performances is the Indian rope trick, which still no one has seen today with their own eyes. Pickpocketing so often goes hand in hand with street magic. Look no further than Bosch's The Conjurer, which features an unsuspecting mark taken in by the cups and balls. In recent times, street magic has risen to incredible popularity due to the engaging street performances of David Blaine. Blaine would become one of the most iconic magicians of our time with his feats of endurance and escape. Street magic also owes many of its techniques to sleight of hand. Close-up magic is held by many magicians to be the ultimate test of one's skills. Whether it's cards or coins, masters of sleight of hand spend thousands of hours on moves that play out in only a few effortless seconds. In Now You See Me, we demonstrate what magic can accomplish as it continues to evolve. Today, modern conjurers are merging magic with science and technology. Magic will always attract students who will study tirelessly to learn its secrets and innovate new presentations of the art form.
Who doesn't love a good magic trick?
I couldn't have said it any better myself. I'm David Kwong, and I hope you enjoyed this glimpse into the history of magic.